O'Connor, the host of This Old House, and as part of my job as host of that show, we get to show off great institutions.
For millions of homeowners, Kevin O'Connor has been the calm, friendly face, guiding them through the chaotic, dusty, yet rewarding world of renovations on This Old House. For over 2 decades and still counting, he has helped them to turn their confusion into clarity, and he even made home renovations seem less intimidating and more human. However, these have been widespread rumors recently. After years of stability, fans started to wonder if Kevin was about to close this chapter of his life. Was he really stepping away from the show he helped shape, or was there more behind the headlines? Let's find out. Early life, background, and education. Born and raised in Maplewood, New Jersey, Kevin O'Connor grew up in a house with 7 children, 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Their father was a civil engineer, so Kevin and his siblings would often work on his site from an early age. Unlike most children, young Kevin would most times find himself surrounded by tools, boards, sawdust, and the constant hum of construction. Over the years, he even assisted his father with his projects, helping with tasks like woodworking. These experiences that he had at a very early age planted early seeds of comfort around physical labor and the built environment. Growing up, Kevin and his siblings built things just like many kids build forts, except theirs sometimes used real plywood and 2x4s scavenged from job sites. He has said that working with his hands, building, tinkering, being among beams and tools, felt more natural to him than sitting behind a desk. That practical exposure didn't go away when he grew older. In fact, throughout his college years, he continued doing construction work in the summer, often through his father's projects, to earn money and keep his pulse on building. In school, Kevin followed a solid academic path. He graduated in 1986 from St. Benedict's Preparatory School in Newark, New Jersey. After high school, he enrolled at the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, where he majored in history and earned a Bachelor of Arts in 1990. Later, wanting to combine his interests in business and strategy, he pursued graduate study at Boston University, earning an MBA in 1999. While many might assume someone passionate about homes would begin in the trades, Kevin's early career took a financial route. After finishing his MBA, he worked at Fleet Bank in their sports finance group. He later moved to Bank of America, where he joined the commercial real estate group, rising through the ranks to senior vice president. When we look at the path Kevin had trodden, it may seem unusual. Imagine a history major who became a finance executive and later a television host. That is pretty strange, but his personality, which combines his analytical skills with a genuine love for homes and practical work, helped him build a rare bridge between money and masonry. During interviews, Kevin acknowledged that he was able to ask the right questions because of the mindset that the business training helped him develop. He also said that the same training helped him to structure his projects thoughtfully and even communicate clearly. All the skills he gained during business training actually helped him a lot when he finally stepped into the world of Renovation TV. In short, Kevin's early life was rooted in the hum of construction, his schooling was rigorous, and his early career built his credibility in business, all of which came together to prepare him for the unexpected rise into television. Entry into television. Through This Old House. Kevin's journey from finance executive to one of the most beloved TV hosts did not happen overnight. It was all made possible by an elementary letter and a wallpaper problem. It all began in 2002 when Kevin and his wife, Kathleen, purchased an 1894 Queen Anne Victorian north of Boston. That house was a classic fixer-upper. As he has said in interviews, it came with a list of stuff we couldn't figure out on our own. The couple tackled many tasks themselves, but at some point they ran into a hurdle. Layers of old wallpaper they couldn't remove cleanly. At around that same time, Ask This Old House, a spin-off of This Old House, was beginning. They could not tackle the wallpaper issue themselves, so they decided to send a letter to the This Old House team asking for help removing their wallpaper. Thankfully, the show responded. Weeks later, a house call crew, including painting contractor Jim Clark and general contractor Tom Silva, showed up at Kevin's home with cameras in tow, and they arrived under the banner of Ask This Old House. During Season 1, Episode 22, the crew helped Kevin and Kathleen remove wallpaper, reworked the walls, and guided them through the process. That appearance was Kevin's first on-camera role for the This Old House family of shows. However, you may be wondering what turned this minor renovation into a pivotal moment in Kevin's life. Well, what made that moment pivotal wasn't just the renovation work. It was Kevin's interaction on camera. While on camera, Kevin had many questions, and his curiosity and ease with the trade experts caught the producer's attention. As recounted in Irish Boston when Jim Clark and Tom Silva arrived, Kevin quickly built rapport, asked thoughtful questions, absorbed instructions, and joined in the work with enthusiasm. Kevin was authentic and curious, and this was exactly what the renovation show needed. So just 1 month later, the producers of the show called Kevin and asked him if he would love to be the host to This Old House. Initially, Kevin thought it was a temporary offer, and he just assumed he might host for a short term before returning to his finance job. He even went so far as to ask his boss at Bank of America to keep his position open, expecting he might return after the hosting stint. However, after Kevin did a spectacular job hosting, the offer stayed on the table, and he accepted because he actually loved hosting. However, Kevin didn't just step into a vacant chair. Behind the scenes, This Old House's prior host, Steve Thomas, who hosted from 1989 to 2003, was preparing to depart. The producers had been quietly assessing options for Thomas's successor, and Kevin's on-camera presence during the Ask This Old House episode gave them a candidate. So, in April 2003, at the age of 34, Kevin officially became the third host in This Old House history. His debut came with the season 25 premiere. At that moment, what seemed like a homeowner's help request had transformed into a career pivot of enormous proportions. Replacing a long-tenured host in a beloved TV show is no small feat. Viewers had come to associate This Old House with names like Bob Vila, the original host who hosted the show from 1979 to 1981-89, and then Steve Thomas, who hosted the show from 1989 to 2003. Kevin's role was not only to take over hosting, but to carry forward the show's legacy while making it his own. In critiques and interviews from that era, comparisons to his predecessors were inevitable. Some viewers wondered whether a former banker could keep up with a show rooted in trade expertise. However, Kevin leaned into his fresh eyes approach and positioned himself as a smart homeowner rather than a seasoned tradesperson. He did so well that during his debut season, he earned an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Service Show Host, an early sign that the choice had resonance. Over time, he steadily built credibility on camera, learning to ask better questions of the tradespeople, deepening his own knowledge, and becoming more confident in guiding projects. He called his role around-the-clock tutorial, hopefully for the viewers as well as the homeowners in the episodes. Early on, he didn't pretend to be an expert in every trade. Instead, he played the role of curious and committed host. Kevin's involvement with the This Old House brand goes beyond being the face on screen. He also hosts Ask This Old House, which is how he first entered television, and inside This Old House. He serves on the editorial board of This Old House magazine, collaborating on the brand's content and direction beyond TV. Kevin's successes did not stop at being on TV. He went on to do other amazing things that he once thought he would never be able to do. Like in September 2011, when he published his first book, The Best Homes from This Old House. The book highlights standout homes featured on the show over its lifetime and offers fans deeper insight into architecture, renovation challenges, and aesthetic decisions. However, with so much success, Kevin was sure to attract some haters after all. Stepping into a show with decades of history comes with pressure. Critics began arguing that Kevin couldn't fill Steve's shoes, but Kevin didn't shy away from that challenge. Instead, he embraced being a student and using his strengths, curiosity, and communication. Over time, fans watched him gain fluency in trade talk, command contractors' respect, and contribute meaningfully to the projects he oversaw. Another challenge that Kevin had, apart from the critics, was balancing his identity. Kevin came from a finance background, not construction, so he had to prove he belonged in a world of sawdust, framing, plumbing, and vintage materials. He gradually evolved from novice homeowner to seasoned novice, learning trade strategies and asking more thoughtful questions. He once said that one of the most significant shifts in his approach has been moving from just asking what is being done to how and why. He dived deep to understand the methods, materials, and choices used in interrogation. It was a risky move, but that risk paid off. Kevin's relatability, sincerity, and willingness to learn won over audiences. His background in business also gave him the tools to frame renovation project decisions around cost, timelines, value, and bridging the gap between technical trades and regular homeowners. The story of how Kevin O'Connor stepped into television is one of those stories that not only sounds lucky but inevitable. He was just a simple homeowner who made a request, and that request became his audition. Soon, producers recognized something rare in him: his genuine curiosity, communication skills, and sincere interest in homes. What began as a modest vision of hosting temporarily soon grew into a lifelong mission. He stepped into this old house not to mimic his predecessors, but to bring his own voice, which was that of an attentive learner standing shoulder to shoulder with trade experts. Over time, he didn't just become a host, he became part of the show's fabric, leading Ask This Old House, sitting on the magazine's editorial board, and writing his own book. Career, influence, milestones, and achievements. Before we can do a deep dive into Kevin's career, we first need to do an intense dive into the deep roots that this old house already had. As we all know, the show was first aired in 1979, and over the past decades, the show has been able to build a reputation for being authentic, having depth, and being a professional craftsmanship show. Now, under Kevin's tenure, which has spanned over 2 decades, this old house has not only sustained that legacy, but grown in reach and ambition. It's no small feat, truly, because Kevin is now the longest-running host of the show. He took over in 2003 and has stayed on ever since. Under his leadership, this old house has evolved from being just a television show into a whole multi-platform home enthusiast brand. It now touches millions of people each month through its TV programs, magazine, digital channels, streaming, podcasts, and live events. The show's spin-offs and sister projects have expanded its footprint. Beyond this old house itself, Kevin also leads Ask This Old House, which began as a way for homeowners to seek direct help and where Kevin first appeared on camera. However, over the past few years, the show has developed deeper content, embraced newer technologies, and still managed to remain relevant without losing its roots. When he goes on interviews, Kevin most often talks about how, while their filming style, pacing, and even their delivery have been modernized, the show's core mission remains to guide real homeowners through real renovations. Given the number of awards the show has won, most people have been unable to deny its influence. So far, this old house and all its related shows have received 117 Emmy nominations, and as of 2022, they have won 20 Emmy Awards. In April 2022, this old house was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Emmy. That recognition wasn't for one season, it was for decades of consistent contribution. At that 49th Daytime Emmy ceremony, which took place on the 18th of June, 2022, the show's award was framed as honoring the many hands, including Kevin, Tom Silva, Norm Abram, Steve Thomas, and others who built its credibility over time. On top of that, in recent years, this old house continues to be nominated for other Emmy categories like instructional, lifestyle, and how-to programs. One of the things that really set Kevin apart was not even his perfect mastery of every trade, but his sensitivity to the viewer's perspective. Most of the time, Kevin would describe his role as the homeowner's voice. He often stated that he was the proxy for the questions the audience was thinking but couldn't ask. Early in his time on the show, he admitted that he started as a novice, but over time has become a seasoned novice, someone with growing trade awareness, still asking thoughtful questions rather than pretending to know everything. That makes his hosting style accessible because he doesn't aim to outshine the tradespeople, but to translate their work into language the everyday homeowner can understand. In Questrom magazine, he explained that earlier in his career, he asked what was happening, but now he pressed on how and why. Also, Kevin doesn't shy away from getting his hands dirty. He still participates in the work, walks job sites with contractors, and learns from them. That presence helps build trust because it shows the trades that he isn't just a figurehead. He also places high value on storytelling, collaboration, and specialization. Rather than making a show about flashy transformation alone, he seeks a deeper narrative by asking questions like why decisions are made, how trades coordinate, and what challenges emerge. In addition, he champions the idea that contractors and tradespeople should be valued as specialists. Kevin's influence does not end at being on the TV screen. He is a frequent speaker, podcast guest, and interviewee. In 2023, for example, he appeared on the 202nd episode of the Modern Craftsman podcast. In this podcast, he reflected on his life, his various projects, and how his insights have evolved. Also, Kevin engages the media about his career lens and how he moved from being a banker to becoming a home renovation TV host. Also, in 2024, he revisited Williamson College of the Trades, a vocational and trade college, and he went there to shoot a segment and reflect on trade education. This visit of his showed people how passionate he is about grooming the next generation of skilled workers. Also in August 2025, the International Boat Builders Exhibition and Conference announced that Kevin would be their keynote speaker, citing his dual experience in business and renovation media. All of these public appearances he has made over time have helped reinforce his brand as someone who loves to bridge trade, media, education, and community. However, of course, such a level of growth does not come without its own friction. From the beginning, when Kevin replaced Steve Thomas in 2003, there was skepticism. Kevin was not a professional tradesperson, so critics questioned whether he could actually command authority, credibility, or authenticity. However, as time went on, and through Kevin's steady work and genuine curiosity, he was able to win over so many fans and even critics. In recent years, there's been speculation about whether Kevin might step down or transition into other roles, especially as he ages and the show evolves. These whispers sometimes surface online when fans analyze changes in credits, shoots, or social media silence. In addition, people have argued that the media environment is constantly shifting and, as such, traditional broadcast is no longer the only path because we now have streaming, online video, short social clips, podcasts, and digital subscriptions, all of which demand adaptation. Also, over the years, Kevin and This Old House have had to pivot, doing so by rethinking pacing, reforming episodes for online consumption, and balancing depth with shorter attention spans. These pressures, from evolving audience expectations, platform changes, and internal decisions about longevity, are real and ongoing. As a result, there have been many rumors that Kevin may have to step down as the show's host soon. However, it hasn't changed the fact that one of Kevin's most significant contributions is accessibility. And for many DIY homeowners, his presence on television has demystified the trades. Because of Kevin, plumbing, framing, HVAC, and masonry are no longer arcane domains. Instead, they have become understandable through clear explanations and curiosity. Nowadays, viewers feel empowered to tackle projects, ask questions, and engage contractors more confidently. However, on the contractor's side, many tradespeople have always praised Kevin for being a bridge for them. They see him as someone who not only respects their craft but also gives them a voice and helps them to present their work to a broader audience. Over time, This Old House with Kevin at its helm has remained a cultural touchstone in home renovation media. Kevin O'Connor's career is a layered story of transformation. A banker-turned-TV host, a novice-turned-informed interviewer, a show figurehead turned brand steward. Under his watch, This Old House hasn't just survived, it has grown in relevance, scope, and influence. The show's Lifetime Achievement Emmy in 2022 serves both as a milestone and a signal that the industry recognizes not just longevity, but the sustained excellence and adaptability of the show. The breaking news moment. Over the past few years, the name Kevin O'Connor has become inseparable from This Old House, which has also become the most beloved PBS home renovation series because Kevin has been hosting it for over 2 decades. However, of late, some fans have been buzzing with some level of speculation that Kevin's time on the show is slowly coming to an end. It all started when a wave of YouTube videos about his leaving went viral. These videos, as expected, were all packed with dramatic headlines and thumbnail captions that did an excellent job of stirring people's curiosity and even making them panic. After all, Kevin was not just another host, but he was part of the show's identity. Soon, the speculation grew from small online whispers to full-blown debate on platforms like YouTube and Reddit. Some fans pointed to subtle changes in recent episodes, such as different camera angles, more guest experts, and slightly less screen time for Kevin, and said these were possible signs that something was shifting behind the scenes. Others wondered if, after 20-plus years of steady hosting, Kevin might be ready for a new chapter. The mounting curiosity reached a point where fans wanted answers straight from him. Finally, he gave them the answers. In a recent video, Kevin addressed the rumors directly. In this video, Kevin has a calm, sincere tone, which is very different from the defensive, dismissive tone people expected of him. He clearly stated in the video that he would not be leaving the show anytime soon. He also acknowledged that his fans had every reason to ask such questions and that he appreciates their concern. However, he will not be leaving the show. From what he said, people recognized that he just wanted to set the record straight and bring an end to the drama. Kevin even spoke openly about his years on the show and hinted that, while change is part of any long career, there are no immediate plans for an exit. That reassurance eased many worried fans, though some couldn't help but wonder if he was preparing the ground for a gradual transition. The program has survived transitions before, like when Bob Vila left and Steve Thomas took over. Also, when Thomas stepped down, Kevin seamlessly became the face of the show. However, each time, the team has managed to preserve the heart of this old house while refreshing its voice for a new era. However, the question remains, could another transition today have the same smooth effect? After Kevin's video was posted, it went viral, and the reactions were emotional. Thousands of fans came online to express their relief. Some wrote heartfelt comments like, "I can't imagine this old house without Kevin," and "Thank goodness he's still here." Others, though, read between the lines and speculated that his words were carefully chosen, an effort to prepare audiences for eventual change without confirming it too soon. On Reddit, users debated whether the network might be grooming his successor behind the scenes, and noted that in some episodes, younger craftspeople have been featured and given more screen time, suggesting they may be the ones the show is grooming. However, Kevin brilliantly addressed the tension head-on, and instead of allowing the gossip to spiral, he went out of his way to reclaim the narrative with honesty and calm. However, this did not stop people from still discussing the different possibilities that his comments presented. It's entirely likely that any shift in his role, be it stepping back or sharing the screen, would happen gradually, giving viewers time to adjust. In that sense, Kevin's breaking news moment wasn't really about departure, but about evolution. For now, this old house fans can breathe easy. Kevin O'Connor isn't walking away. He's simply acknowledging that after more than 20 years in the spotlight, even the steadiest hands occasionally pause to reflect on what's next. While no one knows precisely when that next might come, one thing is sure: the legacy he's built isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Context and broader significance. This old house is more than a television show. It's a cultural institution. Since its debut in 1979, it has shaped how Americans think about homes, do-it-yourself, and the notion that renovation is as much craft as project. As decades pass and media habits shift, the show now sits at a crossroads, anchored by its legacy but challenged to evolve. From its first episodes, this old house played a pioneering role in popularizing home improvement television. Before the age of cable makeover shows, it offered a slower, more methodical, and deeply educational approach. Homeowners across the United States tuned in not just to see transformations, but to learn why decisions were made, what materials to choose, how systems like plumbing and heating work, and what compromises can cost you later. Over time, that rigor and authenticity became the show's hallmark. The show survived and thrived for decades. It earned deep trust among its audience. Also, the show doesn't treat viewers as passive consumers. Instead, it treats them as active partners. The fact that this old house has aired continuously since 1979, now with over 1,100 episodes, testifies to that relationship. Over time, the brand expanded. First it was a magazine, which was launched in 1995, then followed by a website with how to archive, and more recently, a robust social media presence. Today, it serves more than 20 million people each month through its TV, digital, print, and social platforms. That breadth across platforms means the show is not just surviving broadcast shifts, but it's trying to lead in the home renovation media space. How has this old house changed over time? In its early seasons, the format was simple: one house, a crew, weekly episodes following progress. As technology evolved, so did presentations. The show began to feature high-definition video, better cinematography, drones, more dynamic editing, and more storytelling. The show also embraced digital advancements, creating content such as tutorials, archives, webcams on project sites, blogs, and social content. It also has a social media strategy that meets the youth where they are. Legacy TV hosts have always faced pressure to adapt or risk being left behind. And in a world where broadcast viewership is declining, streaming has become the best way to win younger audiences, and Kevin understood that. This, however, created tension, as the older, loyal audience, many of whom have watched this old house for decades, expected continuity, depth, and pacing. They value detailed explanations, trade expertise, and trust built over time. However, younger DIY enthusiasts often want quick tips, visuals, fast edits, reels, and mobile-first content. Bridging those expectations is a core challenge. So, legacy hosts like Kevin O'Connor must balance serving the seasoned audience and reaching new viewers. That explains why we often saw Kevin on podcasts, in media interviews, and in guest appearances. This old house has a model for this kind of continuity. Over its history, the show has transitioned from Bob Vila to Steve Thomas, then to Kevin, and has retained its essence. Its commitment to trade craftsmanship, respect for homeowners, and educational integrity stays at the core. The brand also extends beyond TV, with a magazine, digital content, and a community that gives it structure independent of any one person. That institutional strength helps if Kevin eventually steps back. According to its In the News page, the show describes itself as a multi-platform home enthusiast brand, serving audiences across many channels. Other fields offer similar lessons. News anchors or hosts of long-running shows often plan for transition seasons, retirements announced in advance, or handoffs to next-generation hosts. In late-night television, for instance, shows have swapped hosts, for example, The Tonight Show, with mixed fan reaction. The smoother transitions often occur when the outgoing host stays on in a limited role to mentor or endorse the successor. That path maintains viewer trust and maintains a bridge between eras. So what's really at stake now? First is audience loyalty. If longtime viewers feel disoriented or alienated, they may drift away. Advertisers, underwriters, and sponsors tend to bet on stable shows with predictable reach. A dramatic shift could unsettle that confidence. For a show like This Old House, one reliant on underwriting and partnerships, brand credibility is fragile. Second, the trades community matters. Contractors, artisans, suppliers, many of whom have worked with the show or through its influence in the industry, see This Old House as a signal and a partner. Any shock in hosting or tone could strain those relationships or alter how tradespeople view collaboration with televised projects. Finally, the risk of change is real, but the opportunity is equally real. A new or shared host model might attract younger viewers. Fresh voices, new platforms, and new formats could bring energy. The brand could deepen podcasts, radio, longer-form digital storytelling, and interactive content. If managed well, change can become a renewal instead of a decline. For now, This Old House sits in a delicate balance between roots and reinvention. So what do you think? Is Kevin O'Connor really preparing to say goodbye to this old house, or are the rumors just another internet overreaction? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about your favorite TV hosts and shows. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.